In this video, I'm going to be riding London Underground's RAREST train on a round trip between Amersham and Harrow-on-the-Hill. So join me as I travel through Metroland on board the Metropolitan Heritage train. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get on with the video. And today's journey starts in Amersham, a London Underground and National Rail station in the market town of Amersham. The station was originally opened as part of the Metropolitan Railway extension from Chalfont Road, now Chalfont and Latimer, to Aylesbury. However, in 1933, after a few decades since the opening of the Metropolitan Railway, the line was cut back to this station. At the entrance, a massive queue had formed, with all of the people waiting to board this historic train. In the station's small ticket hall, people got wristbands with different colours to show which carriage they're going on. Leaflets about the train were also available. And all of the ticket gates were open for all passengers travelling on the heritage train. On the platform, there was a small kiosk that served cold food and drinks. Amersham Station features 3 platforms. Although all of them are for Chiltern Railways and Metropolitan line services, my train awaited me on platform 3. And here it is, the Metropolitan Heritage train. On the surface, it may just seem like any other train, but in reality, its consist is varied. So I'll do a quick train tour now just to show you the consist of this train. The passenger carriages of this train is made up of an LUL 40C train set. Before its time as a heritage train, this specific train set operated for British Rail as the Class 438, unit number 428. The train is a 4-car trailer control unit, as it does not have an engine to operate by itself, hence its abbreviation 4TC. And the LUL comes from London Underground's corporate name, which is London Underground Limited. And at the back, we have this odd looking carriage here, but despite its looks, it also has a long history. This is LT 45029, an inspection saloon. It features seated observation saloons at each end of the carriage with large windows, and it even carries members of the royal family in North Wales. Pause the video now if you would like to have a read. Back at the front, I think it's getting a bit too noisy. That's right, because at the front here, we have this Class 20 diesel-electric locomotive. These locomotives produce 1000 horsepower and have a top speed of 75 miles an hour. As you can see, this locomotive is numbered 2142 under the TOPS classification of trains in Great Britain. And at the front, the head code reads out L142, most likely reflecting the locomotive's TOPS number. And here's a sneak peek inside the cab. And finally, at the back is the hero of the hour, the locomotive everybody turned up to see. Behold, the 1922 Metropolitan Railway electric locomotive number 12, or as it's better known, the Sarah Siddons train. This is Great Britain's oldest operational train, having run for 103 years. This train is a whole era away from modern underground trains, even featuring a coat of arms, something never seen on trains now. The train is named after a famous Welsh actress called Sarah Siddons, the most famous tragic actress of the 18th century. Here's some more information on this historic locomotive. And now it's time to board. Wow, this interior looks absolutely amazing. And now it's time to sit down in my seat. My first impressions of this interior is that it's incredibly stylish and it has that vintage feel. Back in the day, these advertisements were used to promote Metroland, a name given by the Metropolitan Railway to the areas, specifically the countryside in northwest London and beyond, that it served. Now it's time to review these seats. They look comfortable, but are they really? Yes, they are. They have an incredible amount of padding, and the seat maquette looks appealing as well. There's a large wooden table between seats facing each other. Luggage racks line the sides of the carriage. A window that you can open, which is something again never seen in trains today, as modern trains feature air conditioning. The aisle seats feature a large armrest, and even the walls of the carriage are padded. And here is a leaflet with the trains. Feel free to pause if you want to have a read. Walking through the carriage, you can find some features only found on vintage trains. For example, this small vestibule in the middle of the carriage. And doors right in front of the seats. Very quirky. Seems like a recipe for congestion. And in there is the driver's cab. Now it's time to walk to the next carriage. Here's the gangway between the two carriages. And a small toilet which is out of use. Now this carriage looks completely different from the one I was just in. And this is because it's a compartment carriage, featuring individual compartments with 6 seats each, like this one. Now it's time to tour this compartment. First of all, the seats have a different maquette, however, they're just as comfortable as the ones in the other carriage. There's a door here for privacy, however, I couldn't get it to fully lock. On top of each window, there's a blind. The bottom of the blind can slot into grooves on the window frame, keeping it in place. Here is the blind fully covering the window. Above the door, there's a temperature controller and a small fan. However, this wasn't effective at all. On top of each seat, there was a functional lamp, however, these were really hot. On the sides of the other window, there were some curtains, but they were really tattered. And back to the seats, they had foldable armrests which were really large. The compartment also features a cigarette bin, and the door also features a window that you can slide down. And that's the compartment journey done. So let's look at the map for today. And it's now time to depart. Wow, that was a pretty eventful departure. You could see all of the train spotters lining up to see the train. And here are a few clips from the journey. The train passes some stations such as Chalfont and Latimer. This train is actually fast, running at a speed of 50 miles an hour. In the middle of the train, we have the guard's carriage. This features compartment seatings and an open area. This area checks the train's brakes, speed, and overall function. However, the open part of the carriage looks quite bare. And listen to that engine clag. And we're now getting to Harrow-on-the-Hill. And welcome to Harrow-on-the-Hill. This is the stop where the Sarah Siddons train will take over and haul the train back to Amersham. Now it's time to talk a little bit about this station. Harrow-on-the-Hill serves Metropolitan line and Chiltern railway services, just like Amersham. However, the station has more platforms for Metropolitan line trains to other destinations, such as Watford and Chesham. And now it's time to head back, being hauled by the Sarah Siddons locomotive. And we head off with a jolt. I didn't expect that, so I was knocked off balance for a bit. During the journey, I decided to interview one of the staff. Okay, so here we have...
Julian Slawson.
Okay, I'd like to ask you one question about this train. So, what's the history behind it?
This locomotive was built in 1923, part of a class of 20 of these electric locos that ran on the Metropolitan line from Baker Street out to Amersham and Chesham up until, I believe, the 1960s.
And what about these particular carriages? Is it true that they've been on National Rail?
Yes, they have. They've all got separate histories, which are actually on the end of each carriage. There's a list describing the history of them. Thank you very much, Julian Slawson. Now back to the journey. And we're back at Amersham. The journey was absolutely fantastic, getting to put my phone out the window and film, whilst also learning about the history of the train. This experience is a train enthusiast's dream. However, the price is very expensive for a journey like this. A return journey costed £40 for adults and £30 for children. Despite the cost, the experience definitely made up for it. Here's the inside of the inspection saloon and the Sarah Siddons locomotive. How beautiful. Thank you for watching the video and see you in the next one.